I never believed in Bigfoot until something nearly 9 feet tall chased me through 7 miles of mountain bike trail at speeds that should have killed us both, and it changed everything. My name is Marcus Vance. I'm 51 years old, and I've spent most of my adult life on 2 wheels. I was a professional downhill racer in the late 80s and 90s, competing at Whistler, Moab, and the French Alps. A catastrophic crash in West Virginia in '97 ended my racing career with a compound femur fracture and shattered kneecap. The doctors said I'd be lucky to walk normally again. They were half right. By '99, I'd transitioned into trail design, using 2 decades of experience to create mountain bike courses for municipalities and private developers. The work paid well, especially with wealthy clients wanting showcase properties. September 2005 found me in Gifford-Pinchot National Forest in southern Washington, about 60 miles northeast of Portland. A real estate investment group had purchased 480 acres of pristine forest to create an exclusive mountain bike resort. They'd offered me $35,000 for complete trail system design. The property was exceptional, with dramatic elevation changes and natural features that would create world-class riding. I'd spent 6 weeks surveying the property. The centerpiece was a 5-mile descent trail, dropping nearly 2,000 feet in elevation. This would be the signature attraction. I was riding a 2005 Turner RFX, full suspension, 7 inches of travel, over $6,000 invested. My helmet mounted a Sony HDR HC1 camcorder, cutting edge for 2005, recording high-definition video to mini DV tapes. The camera added weight and affected aerodynamics, but my clients expected professional documentation. I'd positioned my Ford F-150 at the trail base, then used the company's Suburban to shuttle to the upper trailhead. It was 10:45 in the morning when I started my descent. The September air was crisp, around 58 degrees, the forest canopy creating cathedral lighting through massive Douglas firs and western red cedars. I activated the Sony camera and began the test run. The opening section was flow trail, smooth banked turns building speed gradually. My bike hummed beneath me, suspension absorbing irregularities perfectly. Testing initial section, I narrated. Surface composition ideal. Transition to technical features in 75 feet. The technical section featured natural granite boulders requiring precise navigation. I'd pre-ridden it 4 times, knew the optimal line. I executed it perfectly, the bike dancing between obstacles. Rock section riding clean, I narrated. The trail dropped sharply. I hit a 5-foot drop with a launch I'd built. Flew through the air, landed smooth. This trail was going to be extraordinary. That's when I saw the prints. Fresh footprints pressed into the moist earth, not deer or elk or bear. These were enormous footprints, easily twice the size of large human boot prints. I braked hard, stopped, studied them. Multiple prints crossed the trail at an angle, heading upslope. My first thought was hoax evidence, common in the Pacific Northwest, but these looked wrong for fakes. Deep, showing genuine weight distribution. Individual toe impressions with dermal ridge patterns. Extremely fresh, created within hours. I leaned down for closer examination. Each print measured at least 17 inches long, 8 inches wide. Stride length easily 6 feet. Whatever made these possessed considerable height and mass. An uncomfortable sensation crawled up my spine. I'd been working in isolation for 6 weeks without feeling threatened, but these tracks triggered something primitive. I was profoundly isolated. No cell coverage. My 2-way radio had maybe 3 miles range, probably just someone playing around, I said aloud, trying to convince myself. I resumed riding, but the confidence had evaporated. I was hyper-aware now, scanning the forest continuously. The trail curved right. I'd designed this section for progressive speed building, but I maintained conservative speed. That's when I smelled it. A powerful musky odor, wet animal fur mixed with decaying vegetation. intense enough to smell even while moving. It triggered ancestral warnings: danger, predator, close. I braked harder, slowing to 15 miles per hour. The odor was intensifying. Then I heard movement from the forest on my left, something large crashing through undergrowth. Without attempting stealth, I stopped completely, both feet down, straddling my bike. Every instinct screamed retreat. The movement ceased. Oppressive silence fell over the woods. I turned my head slowly toward the sounds. Through a gap in the salal bushes, 50 feet away, I saw it. A face, partially concealed, but unmistakably a face observing me directly. It wasn't human. Proportions fundamentally wrong. Too wide, too flat, prominent brow ridge over deeply recessed eyes. The nose was broad but not ape-like. Something intermediate that violated every category I understood. And it was massive. We maintained eye contact for 5 seconds that felt like hours. Those eyes, dark and profoundly intelligent, locked onto mine with disturbing intensity. Then it stood up. The vegetation was thrust aside as it rose to full height, 8 feet tall, maybe closer to 9, covered in dark, brownish-black fur. Shoulders extraordinarily wide, arms disproportionately long, chest barrel-shaped and massively muscled. It opened its mouth and produced a sound that converted my blood to ice. A vocalization simultaneously raw and disturbingly human, aggressive and territorial. I didn't think. Pure reflex. I clipped in and started pedaling. The initial strokes felt like slow motion, while my brain screamed at my legs to accelerate. Behind me, that vocalization repeated, followed by something large crashing through forest parallel to the trail. It was pursuing me. My racing instincts activated. Body forward, weight centered, eyes scanning ahead. The bike accelerated, 25 miles per hour, 30-35. Not sufficient. I could hear it maintaining pace on my left, maybe 30 yards into the forest. Trees and undergrowth that would require careful navigation. This thing was bulldozing through branches, snapping, heavy footfalls I could feel through the ground. The trail dropped steeply. Gravity became my ally. 40, 45. My knuckles were white inside my gloves. The camera captured everything, the trail rushing toward me, blurred forest, glimpses of dark fur moving through trees. A root section approached. I hit it at full velocity. The bike, bucking violently, made it through. The trail curved left into a banked berm I'd spent days building. I leaned hard, maintaining maximum speed. For a moment, pursuit sounds faded. Then the trail straightened and I heard it again, closer. It had cut across the interior of my curve. It was learning the route, anticipating my trajectory. This thing was intelligent. The trail dropped again, steeper, a 45-degree pitch I'd called the Widowmaker. I released the brakes, letting the bike run 55, 60. At this velocity, a mistake meant severe injury or death. But being caught wasn't an option. Behind me, the crashing stopped. For a moment, I thought I'd outpaced it. Then I saw it ahead of me, 60 yards down trail, standing in the center of the path. That massive frame blocking my route completely, arms spread wide, herding me. No time for conscious thought. I veered hard left, abandoning the trail, crashing into virgin forest at 45 miles per hour. Ferns and salal whipped my legs. A branch caught my shoulder, spinning me sideways. I nearly lost control, but maintained forward momentum. I was off trail in unmodified forest. This was insanity, but I had no alternative. The creature roared again, so close I felt it vibrate in my chest 25 feet back. I wove between trees, the bike responding to microscopic inputs. Years of technical riding kept me alive. A gap between cedars barely wider than my handlebars I threaded through, bark scraping my knuckles. A fallen log 3 feet high. I hit it straight on, lifted both wheels, cleared it. The suspension bottomed out with metallic impact. The creature simply vaulted over in one fluid motion, landing without breaking stride. My front tire hit a concealed root. The bike tried to throw me. I fought it, kept moving. A branch caught the camera, nearly tearing it off. The mount held, but the camera twisted sideways. Ahead, a break in the trees. The trail. I aimed for it, crashed back onto the designed path. The bike felt wrong. The rear suspension was making a clicking sound. This section featured tabletop jumps I'd built. 3 consecutive jumps, each progressively larger. Now they were obstacles that might save or kill me. First jump. I hit it at 50 miles per hour, way faster than design specs the bike launched, flying 30 feet. I maintained centered position, landed on the backside, suspension absorbing impact. Second jump, larger, hit it with identical speed, flew even farther, weightless, flying, forest blurring beneath, landed hard but clean. Behind me, the creature hit the first jump running across it, those long legs eating distance, barely affected by the terrain. Third jump, the largest, a 7-foot lip with a 50-foot gap. No choice. I was committed. I hit the lip and flew. Complete silence, except for wind. The twisted camera captured ground rushing past at disorienting angles. I cleared the gap, landed deep. The impact was brutal, both wheels simultaneously. My teeth clacked together. The rear suspension clicked louder, more concerning. A rock garden approached, refrigerator-sized boulders requiring precise navigation. I knew the line, executed it at speed, the bike dancing between obstacles with minimal clearance. Behind me, the creature hit the rock garden, going through them. Over them, the sound resembled a small avalanche. My rear suspension was definitely damaged. The clicking had become grinding, the rear end not tracking properly. The trail opened into a fast section, a former logging road. Wide, smooth, straight for 150 yards. I checked behind me. The creature was 40 yards back, loping on all fours, knuckles and feet like a gorilla, matching my speed at 45 miles per hour. Impossible. The trail dove back into tight forest, a section I'd called the slalom run. Narrow, tight turns, trees close on both sides. I hit it at 50. Pure survival instinct guided me. Left turn so tight my pedal nearly clipped a trunk. Immediate right turn tighter. A chicane section, shifting weight left, right, left rapidly. My tires at the absolute edge of adhesion. The trees were too close for the creature to maintain speed. I could hear it behind me, slower now, navigating around obstacles. For the first time, I was pulling away. The slalom run terminated at another steep descent, and my damaged suspension finally failed completely. I heard a metallic snap. The rear felt loose, no longer controlled. Mechanical failure at these speeds was catastrophic, but stopping was equally catastrophic, so I kept riding. The trail ahead featured a wooden bridge I'd built spanning a 20-foot creek. I hit the preceding jump, flew through air, landed on the bridge. The wood boomed beneath impact. My damaged suspension bottomed completely, the tire hitting the underside of my seat. I made it across, but behind me I heard the creature reach the bridge. The wood groaned and cracked under weight it wasn't designed to support, splintering timber. I glanced back. The creature stood on the far side, chest heaving, watching me pull away. Our eyes met across the distance. Those dark, intelligent eyes, and I swear I saw something in them. Not rage or hunger, recognition, maybe respect. Then I hit a turn and it was gone. I kept riding, expecting pursuit to resume, but it didn't. The forest was silent except for my bike breathing and heart hammering I'd gotten away. I didn't slow for another mile and a half, couldn't bring myself to. Every shadow looked threatening. When I finally did slow, it wasn't by choice. My rear wheel locked completely. The grinding became a screech of metal on metal. The tire stopped rotating. I braked hard, the bike fishtailing. I unclipped and got a foot down. I stood there straddling the bike, breathing so hard I thought I might vomit. My legs trembling, hands cramping. I could feel my pulse pounding everywhere. Slowly, I looked back up the trail. Nothing. I'd actually gotten away. My knees almost buckled. "Okay," I said aloud, voice shaking. "You're alive! Assess the bike!" The rear linkage had sheared completely. One bolt had fractured, probably from the big jump landing. The rear wheel was jammed at an angle, making rotation impossible. This bike wasn't going anywhere. I checked my watch, 1:35. I'd been on the trail less than 3 hours, though it felt like lifetimes. My F-150 was 4 miles away by trail distance. With a broken bike, that might as well be 40 miles. I pulled out my hydration pack's drink tube and drank deeply. My mouth was desert dry. The thought of leaving my $6,000 bike made me uncomfortable. Plus, I'd need it as evidence. The damage combined with video footage would help establish credibility. The camera. It had been recording everything. I reached up and felt the mount. The camera was still there, twisted at an awkward angle, but the red recording light was still on. It had captured everything. The sighting, the chase, the jumps, all of it. Proof. I had proof Bigfoot was real. The thought should have generated excitement. Instead, I just felt sick. I straightened the camera and turned it off. More than enough footage. "All right, Marcus," I muttered. "Time to get out of here." I started pushing the bike down the trail. The seized wheel dragged, creating constant scraping. Every 10 feet, I had to lift the rear end and reposition, exhausting work, draining my depleted reserves. I'd progressed maybe 1/3 of a mile when I heard them. Vocalizations from multiple directions, lower frequency, more complex, hoots, grunts, modulated whistles, and they were answering each other. One call from upslope right, answer from downslope left, a third from behind. They were coordinating. There was more than one, and they were surrounding me. I abandoned the bike immediately, unclipped my hydration pack, grabbed essentials, water, radio, multi-tool, and the camera I yanked off the mount, shoved it in the pack. I wasn't leaving that behind. The calls came again, closer. Movement in the forest, multiple sources closing in. I started running, not down the trail, that's what they'd expect. I cut hard right, straight into forest, heading perpendicular to the trail. The forest was dense with ferns and Oregon grape. I wasn't wearing hiking boots, just stiff mountain bike shoes, designed for pedaling, not running. Behind me, something large moved through forest. Not attempting stealth, just crashing through, closing distance. I dodged around a cedar, jumped a fallen log, kept moving. My bike shoes slipped on wet moss, and I went down hard. Pain shot through my left wrist, probably sprained. Got back up. Kept going. A steep slope dropped away, maybe 35 degrees, covered in loose dirt and pine needles. I didn't slow, just let gravity take me, half running, half sliding, lost footing halfway down and tumbled. The pack's hard frame slammed into my ribs, hit the bottom gasping, tasted blood, must have bitten my tongue. Above me, a figure appeared, silhouetted against the sky, massive and dark. It looked down at me, tilting its head in that disturbingly human gesture. Then it started descending in controlled descent, selecting footing carefully, using those long arms for balance. The movement was graceful, despite its size. Practiced, I scrambled up and ran. My left wrist wouldn't support weight, so I kept that arm tucked against my body. The terrain was flatter, marshy. My feet splashed through standing water, hidden beneath skunk cabbage and marsh grass. Ahead, more light. A clearing, maybe. Or meadow. Open ground was dangerous, but staying in forest was suicide. I burst into a natural meadow, maybe 3 acres of open grassland. The grass was waist-high, golden in afternoon sun. Crossing would leave obvious trail. No choice, I plunged in and ran. Halfway across, I heard them emerge behind me. I didn't look back, just focused on the far tree line, on surviving the next 90 seconds. My lungs were on fire. My injured wrist throbbed. My legs felt like lead. I wasn't a young man anymore. 51 years old. While I was in reasonable shape, I wasn't built for sustained flight. The tree line was 40 feet away. 30, 20, 10. I crashed into forest and immediately dove behind a fallen log, pressing flat against ground. My breathing was so loud they'd surely hear it. I clamped my good hand over my mouth. Through a gap in the rotting bark, I could see back across the meadow. 3 of them emerged from the forest. The largest, the one I'd first encountered, stood at least 8.5 feet tall. The other two were smaller, maybe 7'6" and 7 feet, but all three were massive, powerful, moving with coordinated purpose. They stood at the meadow's edge, looking at the path I'd left through grass. The largest made a vocalization, that complex series of sounds. One of the others responded. They were talking. About me. About where I'd gone. The largest pointed directly toward where I was hiding. My heart stopped. They knew exactly where I was, but they didn't pursue. Instead, the largest made another vocalization. Then all three turned and walked back into the forest. Within seconds, they'd disappeared. I lay behind that log for 15 full minutes, waiting for the trap to spring. But nothing happened. The forest gradually came back to life, birds singing, a squirrel chattering. They were gone, really gone. Why? They'd had me, exhausted, injured, disoriented. They could have ended this whenever they wanted, but they'd chosen not to. They weren't trying to kill me. They were trying to drive me away, warn me, keep me out of territory. I pulled out my two-way radio and clicked it on. Static hissed, but underneath, faint voices. I was at the edge of range. "This is Marcus Vance," I said, voice cracking. "I'm on the BIGFOOT trail system, approximately 4 miles northeast of Carson Ridge trailhead. I need assistance. My bike is disabled and I'm injured. Can anyone hear me?" Static, then faintly. "Copy, Vance. Position confirm." I repeated my location and injury. "Copy, Vance. Rangers dispatched. Maintain position." Help was coming. I just had to stay alive long enough. The wait was agonizing. Every sound spiked my heart rate. I sat with my back against a Douglas fir, injured wrist cradled against chest, radio in my good hand, eyes constantly scanning. At 2:57, I heard voices, human voices. "Vance, Marcus Vance." "Here," I shouted back. "I'm here, off trail about 60 yards east." Two rangers emerged minutes later, a man in his early 40s named Thompson, and a younger woman named Rodriguez. "Mr. Vance?" Thompson asked, approaching with first aid kit open. "What's your status?" "Left wrist," I said, holding it up. It had swollen to double its size, turning purple-black, probably fractured, some scrapes and bruises, but I can walk. "What happened?" Rodriguez asked, handing me water. I took a long drink, buying seconds to think. What was I going to tell them? That I'd been chased by a family of Bigfoot. I was testing a trail I designed, encountered something large. It spooked me, and I went off course, pushed too hard, broke my suspension, crashed and injured my wrist. "Something large?" Thompson repeated, examining my wrist gently. "Bear? Cougar?" "I'm not sure what it was," I said, technically true. Rodriguez was looking at me with that expression that said she thought I'd panicked at seeing a black bear. "Your bike is still on trail?" Thompson asked, wrapping my wrist. "We should retrieve it." "Yeah, about 1/3 of a mile back up trail. I had to abandon it when the rear wheel seized." "Rodriguez will get the bike. I'll help you to the trailhead. We've got a vehicle there. We'll take you to Skamania General for x-rays." Thompson helped me up. Everything hurt. Rodriguez headed up trail, while Thompson and I started walking toward civilization. He kept asking standard concussion protocol questions. I answered honestly. "No concussion, just exhaustion and wrist injury." "You're fortunate," he said. "These forests can be dangerous, especially alone. We get numerous calls from mountain bikers who get in over their heads." "Yeah," I said quietly. "Fortunate." We walked in silence. "Thompson," I said suddenly, "you ever hear about Bigfoot sightings in this area?" He glanced at me, something flickering across his face. "Why do you ask?" "Just curious. This is Bigfoot country, right?" "There are stories all over the Pacific Northwest," he said carefully. "Most are just stories. People see a bear or shadows creating illusions. Imagination fills in the rest. But some aren't just stories," I pressed. Thompson stopped and turned to face me. His expression was serious. "Mr. Vance, did you see something out there? Something specific?" I hesitated. I could tell him the truth, show him the footage, make it official, or keep quiet. I saw something I couldn't identify, I said finally. Something large and dark moving through forest parallel to the trail. It spooked me. He studied my face for a long moment. If you did see something unusual, he said quietly, you wouldn't be the first. We get reports. Not frequently, but regularly enough, we take them seriously. Most rangers who've worked these forests have stories, things they've seen or heard that don't fit standard wildlife categories. Do you have stories? Another pause. Then, 5 years ago, I was on solo patrol near Dark Divide, early morning. I found tracks. Barefoot prints, butenormous, easily 18 inches long, stride length over 6.5 feet. I followed them for maybe 1/3 of a mile before they went up a slope too steep to safely climb. What did you think they were? I don't know. And that's the official answer too. Unknown. We documented them, took photos, filed a report. Nothing came of it. But I know what I saw. Those weren't bear tracks. They weren't human tracks. They were something else. We started walking again. It was comforting to know I wasn't alone in this. Rodriguez caught up about 25 minutes later, pushing my broken bike. That linkage is completely destroyed, she said. It was. The rest of the hike was uneventful. We reached the trailhead around 4:20. Thompson helped me into the Ranger vehicle while Rodriguez secured my bike. They drove me 50 minutes to Skamania General. X-rays confirmed fractured wrist. Clean break, 6 to 8 week cast. The ER doctor prescribed painkillers and told me to follow up with an orthopedist. Thompson waited while I got treated, then drove me back to the trailhead. You going to be okay to drive? He asked as I tried to figure out how to operate manual transmission with a cast I'll manage. He started to walk away, then turned back. That footage you have, he said, nodding toward my pack where I'd stashed the camera. Whatever's on it, think carefully before sharing it. Once it's out there, you can't control what happens to it. Or what happens to whatever you filmed. He knew I had footage. I will. Thank you. I watched him drive away, then sat in my truck staring at the pack, the camera. The footage, proof of something impossible. Thompson was right. Releasing it would change everything. Hunters would come, scientists, the government. These forests would be crawling with people. The creatures' lives would become infinitely more complicated, possibly shorter. I thought about that moment when the three of them stood at the meadow's edge, looked directly at where I was hidden, then turned and walked away. They'd let me go, shown mercy or restraint or something I couldn't comprehend. Did I owe them the same? I started the truck and headed back toward Vancouver. The 90-minute drive gave me time to think. By the time I reached my apartment, I'd made my decision. I carried the pack inside, set it on my kitchen table, stared at it. Then I pulled out the camera and connected it to my laptop with firewire cable. I pressed play and watched. The footage was extraordinary, shaky, often pointed wrong because of the twisted camera. But there were clear shots. The initial encounter, that face through foliage, standing to full height, the chase with multiple glimpses of massive dark form keeping pace, the bridge moment when it stopped pursuing, the three of them at the meadow's edge, their size and power unmistakable. This wasn't blurry, ambiguous footage like Patterson-Gimlin. This was clear, high-definition video with good lighting and multiple angles. This was proof. My phone rang. My client, David. Marcus, how'd the test run go? Get good documentation? I looked at the paused image on my screen. One of those creatures frozen mid-stride. Yeah, I said slowly. I got documentation. But David, we need to talk about the Project RO. Problems. The trail is exceptional, some of my best work. But I don't think you should open it to the public. Silence. Then, want to explain why? There's wildlife on your property, sensitive wildlife. Rare. Opening the trail to heavy use could disturb them, drive them away, or worse. What kind of wildlife? I can't say specifically, but trust me, your property is special. What's the needs protection, not turned into a bike resort. Another pause. You're serious? Completely. All right. Send me what you got. We'll review it. But Marcus, we've got substantial capital invested. If we're shutting down, we need compelling justification. You'll have it. We hung up. What was I going to send him? The footage? Part of it? None? I thought about that for a long time. Then I started editing. I worked until 4 in the morning, eyes burning, broken wrist throbbing despite painkillers. I created 2 versions. The first for David showed the trail itself, technical features, flow sections, jumps, rock gardens, my bike handling, the natural beauty. But every shot showing creatures I cut, every vocalization I muted or covered with music. What remained was a professional trail demo that ended with me saying I'd encountered dangerous wildlife and recommending the project be abandoned. The second version was complete. Everything. The sighting, the chase, the 3 of them at the meadow. I rendered it to a fresh mini DV tape, made a second digital copy. One went into my fireproof safe. The other I packaged in a padded envelope with no return address. But I didn't mail it, not yet. Maybe not ever insurance, or evidence if something happened to me. The sun was coming up when I sent David the edited version via email, compressed to 100 megabytes, taking 90 minutes to upload. Then I collapsed into bed and slept 14 hours. When I woke, my phone had 6 missed calls from David. I called him back. I watched your footage. It's incredible work. That trail looks phenomenal, so explain why we're not moving forward. Did you watch the end where I discussed wildlife concerns? I did. We've got environmental consultants. If there's something needing protection, we can work around it. Reroute sections, establish no-ride zones. David, you can't work around this. Then help me understand. What exactly did you see? Something that would bring the wrong kind of attention, the kind that would make a bike resort impossible anyway. Researchers, media, curiosity seekers, your land would be overrun. You're talking about Bigfoot. You're seriously telling me you saw Bigfoot? I'm telling you I saw something that would make developing the trail system impossible. What you believe that was is up to you. Silence. Then, did you get footage of it? Some. Not clear. Mostly shapes in forest. Sounds. Nothing definitive. The lie came easier than expected. I want to see it. No. Marcus, we're paying you. You're paying me for trail design and consultation. I'm giving you both. My professional consultation is that this project should be abandoned. The trail exists. You can ride it privately, but opening it to the public would be a mistake. Another pause. Then, surprisingly, he laughed, almost relieved. You know what? Okay. Maybe this is a sign. My partners have questioned this project since day one. Maybe they're right. He sighed. All right, Marcus, project's dead. We'll send your final payment. But I think you're out of your mind. That's fair. We hung up. One problem solved. The trail would remain private, essentially abandoned. Without maintenance, it would gradually be reclaimed by forest. The creatures would have their territory back. But that still left the footage. I spent the next 2 weeks recovering. My wrist healing slowly. I couldn't ride, couldn't work, could barely function with one hand. It gave me time to think. I watched the complete footage dozens of times, studying every frame. The more I watched, the more details I noticed. The way the creatures moved, coordinated, purposeful but not aggressive, the vocalizations serving as communication. That moment when the largest pointed toward where I was hidden, then turned away. They hadn't been hunting me. They'd been doing something else, escorting me, herding me away from something. I was convinced of one thing. These weren't just animals. They were intelligent, possibly as intelligent as humans, just living completely differently. And they deserved to be left alone. 3 weeks after the incident, I got a call from Ranger Thompson. He'd gotten my number from the incident report. Mr. Vance, I wanted to check in, see how you're recovering. Cast comes off in a few more weeks, should be back to normal eventually. Good. I also wanted to ask if you'd made any decisions about that footage you took. How did you know I had footage? You were wearing a helmet camera, I saw the mount, and you had that look, The look people get when they've seen something they can't explain. Usually they either can't wait to tell everyone or they can't bear to tell anyone. You seemed like the second type. I'm still deciding. Can I give you some advice? Please. Whatever you saw, it survived this long by staying hidden, by being careful, by avoiding us. If you expose it, that changes. Suddenly everyone's looking for it. Hunters want trophies, scientists want specimens, the government gets involved, and its life gets infinitely more complicated. Possibly shorter. You think they deserve protection? I think if something's managed to stay hidden for thousands of years, there might be a good reason. And humans have a terrible track record leaving things alone that we don't understand. He was right. There's another consideration. If you release that footage, your life changes too. You become the Bigfoot guy. Every decision, every word gets filtered through that lens. Some will believe you, most won't. Some will think you're a liar. Others will think you're mentally unstable. Your professional reputation could suffer. Job opportunities dry up. It's not an easy path. You sound like you're speaking from experience. I showed my photographs to a colleague once. Just footprint photos, nothing more. Within a week, it was all over the ranger station. Half thought I'd fabricated them. The other half thought I was gullible. Took years to rebuild credibility. He sighed. I'm not saying don't release your footage. I'm saying make sure you understand the consequences. After we hung up, I sat with my laptop for a long time. The complete footage queued and ready to export. One click and I could upload it. By 2005 standards, it would take hours, but once out there, it would spread. The footage was too clear, too compelling to ignore. I could change the world, prove Bigfoot was real, vindicate every person who'd been ridiculed for reporting a sighting. Or I could protect something rare and precious, keep a secret that maybe deserved to be kept. My cursor hovered over the delete button. I thought about those eyes looking at me through forest. The intelligence there. The restraint. They could have killed me easily. Instead, they'd let me go. I clicked delete. The computer asked me to confirm. My finger hesitated. Then I moved the cursor and clicked cancel. I couldn't delete the only proof I had that I hadn't imagined everything, but I couldn't release it either. Not yet, maybe not ever. So I copied the file to 3 locations: external hard drive, DVD, mini DV tape in my safe. Then I encrypted the digital files with a password only I knew, and then I tried to move on with my life. The cast came off 8 weeks later. Physical therapy was brutal. By spring of 2006, I had most of my grip strength back. Could ride again, though the wrist was never quite the same. I took smaller contracts after that. Nothing too remote, nothing requiring solo backcountry work. I told myself it was about the wrist, about being practical as I aged. But I knew the truth. Those forests had changed for me. They weren't safe playgrounds anymore. They were home to something ancient and unknown. I never went back to Gifford Pinchot, never contacted David again. That trail I designed remained abandoned, gradually disappearing under new growth. Sometimes I'd see news stories about Bigfoot sightings, grainy photos, obvious fakes, people trying to capitalize on the mystery. Part of me wanted to step forward to show my footage and settle the question. But I never did, because Thompson had been right. Some secrets deserve to be kept. Years passed. The technology changed. The Sony I'd used was obsolete. Mini DV gave way to solid-state storage. The world moved on. But I never forgot that September day in 2005, never forgot the sound of something massive crashing through forest, never forgot those eyes watching from shadows, never forgot the moment when I realized the world was stranger than I'd imagined. I kept the footage safe. Checked on it every few months to ensure the files were still readable, the tape still playable. My insurance against doubt, proof that I wasn't mentally unstable, that it had really happened. In 2012, 7 years after the incident, I got a package in the mail, no return address. Inside was a newspaper clipping from a small Washington paper dated 3 weeks earlier. The headline read, "Local Development Group Donates Land for Wildlife Preservation." The article was about David's company. They donated their 480 acres to a conservation trust, establishing it as protected area where development would be permanently prohibited. The article quoted David saying professional consultants had identified the property as home to sensitive and potentially undiscovered species, warranting protection. Tucked into the clipping was a handwritten note on Forest Service letterhead. I recognized Thompson's handwriting. "Thought you'd want to know some secrets stay secret. Some places stay protected. Thank you for making the right choice. JT." I sat holding that note and felt something release in my chest. Tension I'd been carrying for 7 years. I'd made the right choice. The footage stayed locked away. My secret kept safe. And somewhere in those protected forests, a family of creatures that shouldn't exist continued their lives undisturbed. I'm 64 years old now. My mountain biking days are mostly behind me. The wrist never fully recovered, and neither did my nerve. People sometimes ask me if I believe in Bigfoot. I always say the same thing. I believe the forests are full of mysteries. Some of them are better left unsolved. They usually laugh, thinking I'm being philosophical. They don't know I'm being absolutely literal. I never believed in Bigfoot until September 2005, when 3 of them chased me down a mountain and then chose to let me live. That experience changed everything. The footage still exists. I check on it once a year. On the anniversary of that September day, make sure the files are backed up, the tape stored properly. Part of me hopes I'll never need to use it, but another part is grateful it exists. Because on difficult days when the world feels too known and too mapped, I can watch that footage and remember there are still mysteries, still wild places, still things that science hasn't catalogued and cameras haven't captured. And some of those mysteries look back at you with intelligent eyes, make choices about whether to harm or help, and then disappear back into the forest like smoke. I was chased by Bigfoot in September 2005. I have proof, and I'll never show it to anyone. That's my story, that's my secret, and that's how it's going to stay, because I owe them that much. The creatures who could have killed me but chose mercy instead, the creatures who have survived by staying hidden, by being smarter than us. I never believed in Bigfoot, but Bigfoot believed I was worth sparing, worth trusting with their secret. And I intend to honor that trust for the rest of my life. Some truths are too dangerous to share. Some mysteries are meant to remain unsolved. Some footage is meant to stay locked away, checked once a year, never released to a world that isn't ready. The world doesn't need my proof. It's doing fine with its uncertainty. Its comfortable assumption that Bigfoot is just a myth. And somewhere in the forests of Washington, a family of impossible creatures is doing just fine too. That's exactly how it should be.